let's get started. Okay, before going to containers, let us see why do we need containers. Okay, why do we need all this? Why are we studying this? Okay, so to go over this, I would like you guys to have a 30,000 feet overview about this. Okay, how will you talk about this? Okay, how will you talk about this? I think some people have joined right now. Okay, so for the people who are joining, okay, joining along with, I'll just say we have started containers. Okay, describing containers till now. Okay, what is this buzz around containers? What is this buzz around containers? Okay, so I'll just explain it. We were into monolithic kind of architecture. Earlier, we were into monolithic type of architecture. Monolithic means what? Everything written in a single stack and not independent. Okay, not independent. Right now, we are into the world of microservices. Microservices means what? Independently decoupled services. That means I can write my front end separately, back end separately, database separately. Okay, so imagine that you are having a service like PayPal or Paytm. Okay, and you have a big billion day. Okay, or let's say you can have Amazon also. What I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this thing into 4 types of services. First is the front page, second is the back end, third is the cart. Okay, third is the cart. Okay, and fourth is the payment gateway. In this thing, when I'm doing all this, when I'm making a service, dividing this into 4 things on a big billion day, if I'm going to have a 5 million users coming on my website, okay, and normally I have 50k people coming daily, eventually the traffic has gone up to 100 times on the big billion day. Okay, so when I have to scale my infrastructure, okay, folks, are you getting this? I'm having a website like PayPal or Paytm or Amazon. Okay, 50,000 people coming on the website daily. 50,000 people coming on the website daily. Eventually, what I do is I make this count go up to 5 million. Why? Because it's a big billion day, and there are a lot of products on sale. Okay. Since I've divided my things into 4 points: front page, back end, cart, and payment gateway. Okay. So do you think that everybody coming on the website is going to visit all the 4 things? Okay, or they are just going to surf the website and coming only to the front page? What do you think? I want your answers to be in chat, folks. Okay, if I have a big billion day, okay, what do you think? Most people come to the website to surf, for all of them buy. Do all of them buy all the products? Buy from the cart? Yeah, correct. Omar is correct. Only front page. Mostly surfing. Correct, Vaibhav. Okay. So instead of this, if I have to scale my infrastructure, that is, if I have to scale the servers on which my websites are running. So when you are on cloud, always remember, folks, when you are on cloud, you are responsible for every penny that you are spending. Okay. because you have to optimize your cost. Always remember, as DevOps, best practices to optimize your cost. You are paying for only the things that you are using. Okay, so what I'll do is, if I have to scale the infra, I will only scale the services of front page by 100 times, and I can scale this by 20 times. I can scale this by 20 times and this also by 20 times. I can scale this thing 100 times for this, 20 times for the backend. Okay, then also I will be safe. I can save a lot of money. I can save a lot of money. Okay, so that's where when it comes to scaling the websites, if I have written it in the form of microservices, okay, divided into 4 parts, then it becomes very easy for me to scale. Okay, and that is the reason I am able to optimize my cost. This type of a release, it helps very much in having fast releases of software and optimizing the cost. Okay, because if I have a service going down, okay, I just have to integrate this service. If I have made some changes due to the bugs in the front page, I will just make certain changes in the front page and push it into the new release. Got it? So this makes it very simple for deployment. Deployment becomes very simple. Okay, now the next point is, you know that in order to find fast search, to search fast, we have something known as Elasticsearch. Elasticsearch. Everybody is aware about Elasticsearch. Just give me a boom if you are aware about Elasticsearch. Aware, or even if you have heard about it. If you have heard about Elasticsearch, just give me a Y. Correct. It's fine. If you have not heard about it, you can imagine that it's a very fast way of doing search. Yeah. So when it comes to using the best of the tools, what happens is, in the monolithic kind of architecture, in monolithic, you can only use one type of tool, one type of stack. Okay, but in the case of microservices, for searching you can use Elasticsearch. For storing you can use DB or SQL. For storing normal data you can use file management. Okay, so you have very type of stack, multiple types of stacks available with you. At the same time, you can write programs in multiple languages. Like that is, you can write your front page or front end in React.js. Everybody has heard about React.js? Just give me a Y if you have heard about React.js. Correct. Yeah. If you have written about React.js, so Omar, React.js. Yeah, correct. If when it comes to backend, how many of you have heard about Java or Spring Boot? Okay, Spring Boot. Just give me a Y again. Yeah, correct. I'm writing backend in Spring Boot. For search, I'm using Amazon's Elasticsearch. Okay, provided by AWS, Amazon Web Services. It's fine, Anita. I can just say Java or Spring Boot, or let's say Eclipse. Okay, something like this, or Hibernate. Okay, there are many Java, yeah, okay, frameworks available. Got it? For payment gateway, I'm using PayPal. Okay, so you can write different things in different languages. Okay, it doesn't mean that when you're recruiting people, you should not be language concerned. Your staff or your team can write in multiple languages, and all their code gets integrated. Okay, and that is the reason these biggies like Facebook, Google, when recruiting people, they don't go for languages. They don't ask for Java developers. They are asking for people who can write code with correct type of algorithms. Okay, such that all of this get integrated by using microservices. Okay, got the point? So you can use best of the tools and deployment becomes very simple. Okay, by using microservices, scalability becomes simple. Main thing is scalability becomes simple. Is this point clear? Okay, if you have, I mean, clear with scalability and feasibility both, just give me a boom if you are clear with both the things. Okay, Mohammed. Yeah. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask me right now. Okay, fine. Now let's go to why do we need containers? See, what we had before this was we had monolithic applications. We had long development cycles. Okay, we had single type of environment and slow scaling up. You know, because of this, it used to take a lot of time. Okay, the deployment used to take a lot of time. But now what we are having is decoupled type of services, very fast improvements. Due to all this, Amazon is able to do a release every 9 seconds. Amazon is able to do a release of its website every 9 seconds due to this fact, because deployment has become so simple and release of software due to all these things have become so fast. Okay, so what happens is deployment, when it comes to multiple type of stacks, when these 4 stacks get together, okay, there are some problems when it is going to come on a single type of cloud. Why? See, you have a deployment virtual machine, you have a data center. Okay, it might happen that you have different types of PCs coming in. Now when it comes to web front end, Ruby and all, to run this, okay, to run this we have something known as dependency. Okay, if I am running Elasticsearch, okay, this might require Python 2. Okay, at the same time, if I am running something which is known as curl, okay, very famous command, this required Python 3. This requires Python 3. Okay, now there will be a confusion. That means some things want Python 2, some things want Python 3. How will you solve this problem? Okay, and if anyone uses the wrong type of version, the entire stack becomes corrupted or the entire stack is not working. So what used to happen earlier was people spent lot of time in solving installation issues of the stack. Imagine the fact, if you are having a new joinee in your team, and he has come, what if he spends 3 days in just installation? It is very common. This is very common in today's companies. Like if your new joinee is joining your team, he is spending 3 days in just installation of the stack. He has to do programming upon. What if I say that I can reduce this thing within 30 minutes? Yes, 30 minutes. Adarsh, yeah, correct. How many of you face this problem actually? Okay, your installation, when a new joinee is coming, he is taking 3 days to just doing installation. Okay, and if one of your stack goes down, yeah, so many times, correct. If you switch the job, okay, if you switch the job, you would have seen that as soon as, I mean, people spend a lot of time in doing all this. Okay, so can we reduce this time? Can we reduce this to 30 minutes? Or what if I say, can I reduce it to 3 minutes? Let us see, is it possible or not? First of all, we know that installation, I mean, if it is done manually, it is very difficult. It's difficult, okay. And at the same time, it is not very productive, Okay, yes. Now what happened was, we will call this problem as the matrix of hell. That means I am having a static website, I am having a front end, background workers, database and queue. It has to be compatible with all the hardware. Okay, because this hardware virtual machine which is being used is having some different type of configuration. Okay, similarly QA server is having different configuration, single production server is having different configuration. What used to happen was these issues are very common in many companies. It is working on the developer's machine, but unfortunately it is not working on the production machine. Not working on the production machine. Why? Why? Because the infrastructure issues, infra and configuration issues. Do you think that this to solve all this is productive? Is it productive to solve all this? No. What if I say that? What if I say that I can give you a tool? I can give you a tool which can make the same infra on production, on dev machine, on QA machine, and everywhere. It can make the same infrastructure. Okay, same infrastructure. This concept of putting all the dependencies together, containing of software as well as hardware dependencies, is known as the concept, is taken from the concept of shipping. Shipping means what? There are different ways of transporting the things. Okay, different ways of transporting the thing. But what if I can ship all these things in the form of containers? Containers, okay. Containers, that means I'll take a container and I will put all these things together and I will make it in a ship. Okay. So if I can do it for basically drums, if I can do it for cars, if I can do it for hardware, if I can do it for goods, I can do it for pianos, musical instruments. Can I do the same thing for my software dependencies? Yes, I can do it. What I will do is I will put all these things together. I will put all these things together and I will create the exact infrastructure on this point. Okay, such that the container is now same for all. The environment becomes the same for everybody. Okay. So what will happen? I hope, is it clear, folks? Is it clear? Just give me a Y if it is clear, else you can ask me any doubts. Any questions, folks, till now? All clear. Very nice. Okay. Correct. Okay, Bala. So what is happening is, who will create the container? Oh, yeah. Very nice question, Anita. We will create the container right now. We'll see a demo. Okay. And you will understand it very well. So from going from dev to production, many times for biggies companies, okay, to improve the release, it used to take 9 months. Now it can get reduced up to 15 minutes also, folks. Okay. So deployment becomes 100 times a day. Okay. Instead of once a week, it has become 100 times in a day. Okay. 70% infrastructure consolidation has taken place. Okay. And the application density has gone up to 14x. So that's where the thing comes in. Okay. Now the question is, who is basically responsible for all this? Okay, is this a new concept? How are we doing it? We might be doing it, but before going into depth, how are we doing it? Is it a new concept? Okay, so let's see what is it. So this thing has been existing from 1970s. Okay, but it has become popular right now. It has been in a long time. It is not something new. Right now we just have the need for this, and that's the reason we are using it. So this thing starts from IBM. Okay, and they are nothing but lightweight containers. Are what? Containers are lightweight virtual machines. I hope everybody has heard about virtual machines, VMs. If you have heard about it, just give me a Y. Yeah, if you have not, I'll just see, I'm running a Windows operating system right now. Okay, but inside this same Windows operating system, I am running this virtual machine, okay, which is an Ubuntu system. Okay, which is an Ubuntu system. I'm using this inside this machine. Okay, so what happens in a virtual machine is I have a host on which I install a tool like hypervisor, which is in my case is known as Oracle VM. This is known as Oracle VirtualBox. Okay, and we call this thing as hypervisor. And on the top of it, we have something known as the guest OS. For me, the guest OS is Ubuntu. You can see that it is Ubuntu Linux operating system. Okay. On the top of it, we have binaries and libraries. And on the top of it, we have applications running. Okay. So you might have heard about issues that this thing will work on Linux, but this thing might not work on Windows. Okay. What if I say that I can solve all these issues now? There is completely OS dependency possible. Yes, it is possible, folks. It is possible. So what happens is, instead of this hypervisor coming in, what I am doing is I'm completely removing this thing. I'm completely removing these two stacks. I'm removing guest OS as well as I'm removing hypervisor. Instead of this, I can directly put it upon binaries and libraries, okay, in the middle with a container. This is known as container. Okay, container means what? What we will have is we will have a layer of container upon here, which is known as Docker. So over here, what we were doing is we were sharing the operating system kernel. Okay, we are sharing the operating system kernel over here. Over here, we are sharing the OS itself. Got it? So that's the difference. You don't have the OS, Anita. We don't have the OS when it comes to over here. We are not having OS. We will only have the binaries which are responsible for running this application from the operating system. See, that's why it is called as the light OS. Why? Because see, this OS, if you see any image of Ubuntu or Red Hat, it goes from 1 GB to 4 GB. And that is the reason application become heavy. Okay, why? Because you are giving the entire OS. Okay, correct. Omar, I'm showing it. Yeah. So instead of this, I can have this. Yeah, instead of host OS, what I am saying is I can have the direct binaries. Okay, so let's see. Since Omar has to, so this is the virtual machine. Now the next thing that I can show you is, can I run? Okay. See, when I do ps minus aux, there are so many processes running over here. Okay, this is my normal Linux shell. The next thing I want you to do is install Docker. Okay, install Docker. So when you do a Docker, okay, so once you have installed Docker, you will have a layer over here. Instead of these two layers, hypervisor and guest OS, you have a layer of Docker. Okay, now what you can do is you can install anything. Okay, so what I'll do is I will install something which is a very light image. Okay, so what I'll do is Docker run -it, and I will say something known as busybox. Okay, got it. So we have seen that already so many processes are running over here. Okay, now let's run it in the container. Okay, can you see there are no processes over here? Only 2 processes running over here. Got it. So it can make a container over here, container which is completely separate. a container which is completely separate on the top of the host OS. Everybody got this? You can install anything over here. You can install anything. When you do a Docker PS, you can see that these containers are running. No, it does not include OS. It only requires binaries and libraries which is required to run the application upon OS. Correct. For X, user A has created a server app on Windows, and when he is sharing with Git with another user who has Linux. Okay, very good question. Yes, he can definitely do a Docker Compose build. Let's do it, Adarsh. Since you have told me, let's do it. Okay. Yeah. So, how many of you have heard about Red Hat? Red Hat. Yeah. Can we run a Red Hat container? Correct. It's a Linux distribution. Okay. Let's search for it. So you can see that there are so many images available. You can see that there are so many images which are available. Okay. So what we'll do is, so HJD48. So we'll do is docker run -dit HJD48 / Red Hat. Okay, so you can see that it is going to the place where they have the Docker image of Red Hat. It is going to that place, downloading this image. Okay, yes, correct. I can run the Kali Linux also. You can see that it is downloading this image. Okay, so the place where it is going to download the image is known as Docker Hub. It is known as Docker Hub. This is the place it goes. This is known as the image registry. This place is known as image registry. Okay, so when I search for Red Hat over here, images are basically ISO files of operating system. Okay, which are compressed in form of containers. Compressed in the form of containers. Images are ISO files which are compressed in the form of containers. Okay, so when you do a Docker PS, can you see that there is a Red Hat image which is running? Okay, so what I'll do is docker run -it. I can go into this container. Okay, can you see this container running? There are two containers running. One is this Red Hat container, and second is the BusyBox container. Okay, if you can see both the containers. No. These are two separate containers running. Others, two separate containers running. Correct. Yes, Costas. We can do that. We can do this Costas. We can add one. We can take one image and add more packages and publish it. It is possible. Okay. So let's go into this. Can I go into the operating system also? Just see this Docker PS. Okay. Now, when you create a container concepts are possible only because of the concept of C groups and namespaces. Okay. So C groups is a concept which is made by Google in 2006, such that what we can do is we can separate out things like process. Yes, containers are running on the top of Docker, Amal. We can separate process. We can separate CPU. We can separate memory. We can separate network. We can separate hard disk. Okay, inside the OS, just sharing the kernel, got it? So let's do it. What we'll do is docker exec -it, okay, and I will just go into this 1991 and I'll say bash. Okay, so you can see that I am inside the Red Hat operating system. I am inside this Red Hat container. Okay, so I can see that ps -aux. You have these many processes running. Okay, and I can see /etc/star release. Can you see this? This is a Red Hat Enterprise Linux server. Red Hat Enterprise Linux server. I am running on the top of Ubuntu. I am running it on the top of Ubuntu and in the form of a container. In the form of container. Got it? Just give me a Y if you got the concept of, yeah. Can we use Windows GUI in container? Yes, yes, it is possible. But there is an exception. You cannot run on the Linux. Okay, on Windows you cannot run Windows upon this. Okay, because Windows is completely different type of kernel. You can run a Windows application, but you cannot run a Windows OS upon this. But that is using in VM. Yeah, sure, Anita, I'm doing it. Yeah, kernel. Okay, so kernel is basically the core of operating system. Okay, there are two parts. Omar, there are two parts. When we do one thing, Linux is basically using Linux is not an operating system. Linux is not an operating system. Linux is a kernel which is written by Linus Torvalds. Okay, it's a kernel. Always remember, it's not an OS. It's not an OS. OS is when OS is correct, which when it gets integrated with one of the applications. So Ubuntu uses Linux kernel. Red Hat uses Linux kernel. Okay, on the top of it, they add applications. Got it? Yeah. Got it? Everybody is clear with this? Now, what if I do like this? Can you see? There are some things. There are two things running. When I do it to list down the network interfaces, I have, when I did to see the IP address, I can see the loopback address and my default interface. Along with this, I can also see, since I'm running two Docker containers, I can see the addresses of these two Docker containers also. Can you see this? That means all your network interfaces are also made virtually and they are made separate. Can you see this? These are the ports of Docker interfaces, which were earlier not there, and right now they are appearing. Why? Since they are almost two containers running, I can see for these two containers, there are additional interfaces coming in. Everybody can see the network interfaces? Just give me a Y. Okay. So, when you do a ps -aux, okay, and there are Docker, you can see that there are some things coming up. we have something known as proc file system. Inside this proc file system, you will have container IDs, okay, which are basically running your file systems. Okay. So by doing this, what are all these? These are basically process IDs. Okay. And inside these process IDs, these containers are running. These two containers are running. These two containers are basically sharing IPC. Okay. These two containers are given access from network. Process IDs are different for different spaces. Okay. They are also made separate file systems, users, okay, and mounting. All five are different. Okay. So the ID that I am using is basically MobaXterm. Anand, MobaXterm. Yeah. To access basically my Ubuntu desktop. Okay. Okay. Now let's come to the main question. Okay. I'll again demo one thing. See. How to use IPv6 and how it can be broadcast using switches. I'll need to take this question separately at last, Teerth, if you don't mind. When I do Docker PS, I can see that one of my container is running over here. What I'll do is I will go inside this container. Docker, when I do PS minus AUX, I can see that how many processes are running over here? Almost 227 folks. 227 processes are running over here. Now, instead of this, when I go inside my container, which is completely independent of this, I'll do docker exec minus IT and I'll go into this 9091, which is basically a container running Red Hat. And I'll give bash. When I do PS minus AUX, you can see only 3 processes are running. Instead of 227 and 3, that means we have proved that completely independent type of processes which are running. Yes, it is possible. No, Umar, this is container. This is not a virtual machine. This is Red Hat ISO, Red Hat operating system image. Yeah, it is like very similar, but at a container level. Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah. Next. Now let's come to the most basic question. If I have a web app or Android app or iPhone app, I have the source code. I am the new joinee of the team. Can I make it run by creating the exact infrastructure? Is it possible to make it run? Yeah, it is the main question. So let's do this. Correct. So are you all excited to see the solution? Let's do it. Okay, so I have a friend who has made a website. Okay, let us see if we can access that website. And I'm going to give this website name as static website. Okay, what I need to do is I need to get the image. Which is, his name is basically Prakhar. Okay, and he has made this image. Okay. So what this is doing is it is getting the image, going into this file, okay, getting a container, putting this image into this container, putting this image into this container. Can you see how easy it has become to download everything? How easy it has become to download everything. You have downloaded the entire package. And when you do Docker images, okay, you can see that your image will get listed over here. Can you see this? It is an 80 MB of image. 80 MB of image which has got updated 8 months ago, and we have downloaded this. If you can see the static website image, just give me a yes. Okay, so we downloaded this image from the Docker Hub. Okay, and what we are doing is we are doing Docker PS, and along with this you can see that this website is also running. Website means it's a web app which he has packaged. Okay, let's see on what port it is running. Can you see that? Can you see this thing? Okay, so let's access this now. Let's access this. So I'll go into this 192.168.0.104, okay, which is my virtual machine, and I'm going to access 32768. Okay, so let's open from here itself. I'm opening Google Chrome. Just give me a minute. Can you see this? Nginx server is running. Okay, so when Nginx server is running, okay, hello Docker, everybody can see this. I am able to access this. Okay, I ran this package, and I can access this thing. See, my on the port number 80, my web page is getting displayed. I opened the same web page. Okay, I have redirected this web page from this to this. Got it? Yeah, so it has become so simple. Okay, so it's a web application. Everybody is clear with this? Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay. Okay, cool. Next, let us make a full website. Why did I write this? Nginx is basically web server. Akshay, Nginx is web server. And Anand, why did I write 8888? I'll give you this reason. Okay, I'll give you the reason. When you do a Docker PS, you can see that from 32768, it is getting redirected to 80. Okay, it is getting redirected to 80. So we'll see further, because internally we have made this app, okay, to run on port number 8888. Anand, okay, I'll show it to you right now. Let's do one more thing. I will again download one more repository, okay, which is again Prakhar's repository. Okay, and I'm doing Docker. It's a very well made. Just give me a minute, folks. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm just downloading this repository. Okay, you can see that he has basically made a Python app. Okay, and we are going to make this Python app run on this machine by using Docker. Python app to be running on this machine using Docker. How many of you have heard about Python as a language and also web framework which is known as Flask? If you have heard about this, just give me a Y. Okay, so this is a Flask image, and I can just show you Flask is not installed over here. Flask is not installed on my OS. Okay, it is not installed. Okay, now I'm going to run this Flask based app. I'm going to run this Flask based application. Flask is not installed, but I'm going to run this Flask based application on my machine. Okay, so let's get started. What I'll do is I'll go into this, like go into the Flask app. Okay, so there is a website, there is a full2 web application. Inside this web application, okay, I have the most important thing present over here, which is known as Docker file. Okay, can everybody see this part? If I have to run this, okay, and I have got all the contents, how to run it? So this file is responsible for giving me the sequence. Okay, in order to run this, I will require Python 3 as a dependency. Python 3 as a dependency. Okay, as a dependency to run this. Okay, that means if you are running a C++ application, you can specify C++ over here. If you are running a Java application, you can give the Java and with the version. Okay, so this dependency will be fetched from Docker. Okay, and it will get installed over here. Only the things which are needed will get installed and nothing else. Got it? And on the top of it, it should get copied into this dot means the current directory. Okay, next thing is there are a set of requirements which have to be fulfilled. That means I want them to install by using Python interpreter. I want them to install the Flask 1.0 version also. So to install it, I need to run a command. So I have to give in Docker, run this command, such that the set of dependencies which are specified in my file get installed. Okay, and once it is ready, the port which is reserved to run this application is on the port 5000. Okay. And in order to run this application, the command given is Python and just run app.py. Everybody is clear with the sequence. Are you clear with the sequence? If you want, I can explain it again. If you are clear with the sequence, just give me a 1. Just give me a 1. Okay. If any doubts, just give me a 0, or you can ask me a doubt. Okay, let's build the image now. Let's build the image. In this, we are having this app.py file, okay, which is written in Python. I have no idea about what is this, but I know how to build it since I have written this Docker file. Okay, now let's build this. What we do is Docker build will it skip the installation of Flask? Let's see. As such, it will skip it, yeah, because it is installed as one of the dependencies. Okay, but I want you to see it in demo. Vipul. Okay, so let's build it. Build -t. Okay, and I want to give a name. I want to give the name as Avionics. Okay, and I want to give this name as, okay, Avionics. Got it? Can you see it is going layer by layer? We have 6 layers of this. This is building layer by layer. Everybody can see this. It is downloading the dependency and making the entire package layer by layer. Whatever you have given in at the time of building the file, it is doing it, preparing it layer by layer and making it in the form of image. Okay, so it will take some time to. Yes, I am building inside. Yeah. Costas. Got it? So this is how it gets built. Okay, so step by step, once it gets built, it gets running. Okay, running step by step. Okay, collecting Flask, all the dependencies. Vipul, did you see this? Successfully installed Flask along with all the dependencies needed. Successfully built the image, okay, which is tagged as Avionics/catnip. Okay. Now, what was the port on which we were running? Do you remember this? Yes, this is a private Docker image. Correct, 5000. Very nice. What I'll do is I will replace it by 8888. Okay, 5000. I'll give the image as Avionics. Okay, and I'll give it as catnip. Got it? So my image is now running at this. Let's see if I can access this or not. Can you see this? I have, yeah, okay. From 5000, Anand, did I answer your question? From 5000, it got redirected to 8888 and I am able to run this application. Got it, everyone? It becomes so simple to replicate what the developer has done to the production. Anita, did you see this? Yeah. Any doubts? Any doubts? Okay. Are you, I mean, excited by seeing this? I mean, do you find it interesting? Just give me a 1 if you find this very interesting. Okay, somebody has asked me to repeat the last step. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I'll do a control C to quit. Okay, and I'll make another image and I'll give the name of mine. Okay, but before this, let me just show you what we are doing. Are you is everyone clear with the Docker file? Okay, how this file is written? Okay, from this thing, we have inside this Flask app, we are having this app.py. Yeah, Anand, pleasure is all mine. Yeah. So what we are doing is we have a Docker file which is kind of responsible for running everything. Okay, for making the image. Got it? So we are going one by one. Okay. Now what we are doing is docker build -t AC Anubhav, and I am doing catnip. Okay, as one of the images. It got built. Okay. See, I have not made a change. Okay, so all layers are present as it is. So just the tag becomes different. Installing dependency. Adarsh, which part are you asking from? Okay. Achha, just tell me. What if you have Flask as well as you have Elasticsearch as well as you have 5-6 other things to be used? Okay, to run this. Okay. What is happening is once you have Python installed, Python comes along with something known as PIP, which is Python interpreter. It also allows you to install Python packages from Python. Okay. Now Flask is a web application framework. Flask is a web app. Framework. Okay. Now, like Flask, you can also have other things like Django. Okay, which is another web application framework. Okay, so you can fill all these things in requirements.txt. Okay, and what you can give is just make sure that inside the Docker file you are specifying that you are installing all the things from the requirements.txt. Got it, Adarsh? Yeah. Okay. Now Docker run, and I'm again going to run this upon another port. Okay, another port, and let's say what is your favorite number? I'll say 8000. Okay, so when I go this upon 8000, I can get the same output. Okay, can you see this? Okay, yeah. Now, so things are not over here. We need to commit this image such that anybody else can also use this. Okay, so what we'll do is Docker login. Okay, so Docker login gets successful. That means I am going to get into my Docker account. Got it? Next is I will push this image, Docker push, and I will say AC Anubhav, and I will give catnip. Okay, I am going to push this image on my Docker hub. I will be able to see that image over here. We can upload here. Okay, so there is the set of repositories. Can you see this? My image got uploaded over here. My image has got uploaded over here. So anywhere, a person sitting anywhere can just, get my image and get started with my app. Okay, it has become so easy to push it, to ship the softwares. Shipping of software has become very simple. Shipping has become very simple. Okay. Is everybody convinced with? Is everybody any doubts? Any doubts? How do you find Docker? If you find it very awesome, just give me 100. If you find it good, give me 80. If you don't find it good, just give me 50. How do you find? Yeah, correct. Okay. Many people find it exciting. Okay. Next. Yeah, sure. I can open the requirements.txt file. So in the requirements.txt file, I will specify the package along with the version that I'm looking for. Shipping. Yeah, so we can solve this versioning problem by specifying specific version over here. So the problem of versioning, which was there and which was making a complex matrix, okay, due to different versions fighting. What we can do is by making containers, all of this, we can specify all versions inside this requirements.txt file itself. Okay, such that that version file becomes completely, out of the market. Okay. Next. Yeah, Anand, you can practice it. Others, what do you mean by shipping? Shipping means I made a software, and after that I pushed it to Docker Hub. Now, if anybody can get started with this by not having to do any installation. They can just do Docker run, and they can run my website without doing any installations. Why? Because Docker will take care of all the installation procedure. Okay, so there is nothing, no productivity loss as a new joinee. Others, got it? It can be private. Why not? It can be private. You can have a private repository. The things that I am using is public repository. At the same time, you can have private repository. Yeah, it's completely fine. Can Docker use kernel of Windows over Linux OS? Your applications will run, but Windows as an OS will not run. Project will run, dependencies will run, Windows as an OS will not run. Why? Because the kernels are different. Linux kernel is different, Windows kernel is different. Okay. Flask is, I mean, this app is written in Windows itself, Anand. This app is written in Windows. Okay. And I'm running it on Linux. Okay. So you can imagine the same thing. How to make communication in between two containers. Okay. So we have something known as Docker network for that. Okay. So with the help of Docker networking, you can have two containers communicate with each other. Okay. So let's see one more application with the help of Docker Compose. Okay. Docker Compose. Okay. Let's see this. I am going to take one. Yeah. I'm going to say github.com, and I can see another thing, which is another friend of mine who is known as Stephen Prodden. Okay. And I will take his image as Docker Prom. Okay. Now, just see that till now what we were doing was, yes, you are supposed to write the Docker file if you are the person who is building your software and you want to ship it to everyone, because you are the only one who knows how to run this. Okay. And requirements.txt requirement file also you have to build, Makey. Okay. Yeah. Next. We have something known as Docker Compose.yaml. Okay, somebody was asking how do two containers communicate with each other. What we do is we will tell them how to communicate. Okay, so let's say we have images of things like Prometheus. Okay, Prometheus is a monitoring tool, very popular monitoring tool. We have something known as Alert Manager. We have something known as Node Exporter. Okay, we have something known as cAdvisor, and we have something known as Grafana. So all the 5-6 things are very new to me. But what if I have no, client cannot see the code. I mean, only I mean, you are not uploading, you are just giving the files. Okay. Yeah. So what, no, not Kubernetes is next week. Naveen, we'll be going to see Kubernetes next week. These are just Docker features. So let's say I mean, you are working for a company. Okay, and a team has built monitoring solution. Okay, and what this wants is to monitor all containers running, So instead of you doing installation, your manager doesn't want you to do any installation, just run the Docker Compose file. Okay, just run the Docker Compose files, such that it has been given how these containers will communicate with each other. They have given the file system, they have given the image to be used, the name of the containers, the hard drive space to be used, okay, the port on which it will be running, and the network on which they will be communicating. They have specified everything. Okay, and they have made all these 5 components. That means 5 different type of services to be, running on a single network. Okay, now let's Docker Compose up, and I'll do -d. I will do -d. Okay, so it will create network, okay, on which it is going to run this monitoring software. It is going to collect the images. It is going to run this monitoring software. Okay, it will make them communicate with each other. You can see that it is downloading all the images first. Okay, so these are very popular monitoring tools made by different companies. And what we are doing is we are going to integrate all this. Okay, So instead of you doing installation, your Docker Compose file is doing it for you. Correct. Yeah, Anita, correct. Absolutely correct. Okay, so you have given 5 packages. It is going to install 5 packages on its own. Okay. It is going to do the build on different ports. Okay. Once it is done, correct. Grafana is the visualization tool. Grafana is the visualization tool. Yeah. So you might have heard about Power BI and all. So Grafana is being used somewhere in the production. Okay. So that's the reason I have taken a case such that it's very, I mean, even if you're not aware about it, you can simply do Docker Compose up -d. Okay. And what it will do is it will install everything from scratch. Okay. It will create the containers. It will create these containers. Okay. So these are 8-9 packages. Okay. Now I can install this thing over here. I can see this thing over here. Okay, I think, just give me a minute. Okay, so what we'll do is we will stop all the running containers right now. Docker stop, and I'm going to give a $. Okay, so this is how you stop all the running containers. Okay, you are just stopping all the running containers. Yeah, is it good idea to containerize both? Yeah, why not? You can do this. Others, it is ideal. Yeah, if you can do it, it is ideal. Containerize everything. Okay, so think other technologies like blockchain and all now on which the people are working, they have containerized all the images. Docker is replaced by VM. Yeah, so Docker is replaced by VM. VM have their own importance. Okay, like if you want a complete OS, okay, many times for many applications, for high level processing, you can go for VM. If you want lightweight processing, okay, very fast processing, then I think a container is a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Now what we'll do is, let's see how many ports are running. Can Dockerized app access to host OS users? No. It will ask authentication. You can see that it is asking authentication again and again whenever there is an OS coming in. Costas, did I answer your question? Okay, so it's creating containers. Okay, so you can see the same thing over here. Can you see this? We are able to access the entire package. Okay, and I can monitor all my containers over here. Can you see this? Load started coming over here. Got it? So we were able to deploy this entire monitoring service with a network communicating with each other in containers by using the Docker Compose file. Okay. So like this, you can deploy all your web applications by Dockerizing it. By Dockerizing them, you can monitor all your containers from here. So CPU load is somewhere 4.41%. Running containers are these many. This is the used memory. This is the memory load. Okay. You can do all. I mean, if you want to monitor all your services, okay. So how many services are running? Let's say alert manager are there, CDD is there, push gateway is there. Okay, you can monitor all your things over here. Okay, what is happening at each and every instance. Okay, so I have this expertise of monitoring and all systems designing. Okay.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe the channel. If you like the video, do give us a thumbs up and share it. Also check out amazing discounts and offers on our premium courses in the description below.